Hello, Seawolves, and welcome back to this week's edition of Eyewitness News. I'm Ashley Choi. Let's begin in the Middle East. We start with rising tensions between the United States and Iran tonight, despite U.S. officials claiming that the ceasefire still remains in place. Now, our correspondent, Nikola Knežević, is here in the studio with more details.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. In the Strait of Hormuz, U.S. Navy destroyers came under attack on Monday. Officials say Iranian missiles, drones, and small boats targeted the ships as they escorted two commercial vessels as part of a Pentagon operation known as Project Freedom. President Trump says U.S. forces destroyed 7 or 8 Iranian boats during the strike. Defense Secretary Hegseth called the mission totally separate from the ceasefire and described it as a temporary operation.
The ceasefire is not over. American destroyers are on station supported by hundreds of fighter jets, helicopters, drones, and surveillance aircraft, providing 24/7 overwatch for peaceful commercial vessels.
And this isn't the only area seeing conflict. What else are we seeing?
Yeah, we're also learning that the United Arab Emirates is reporting a second straight day of Iranian strikes. On Monday, officials say Iran launched 15 missiles at the country, injuring at least 3 workers. On Tuesday, there were more missiles and drone attacks, which are raising concerns about a wider conflict.
And with all of this happening, where does the ceasefire stand?
Yeah, well, with the ongoing attacks, U.S. officials still believe that the ceasefire is very much in effect.
Thank you, Nikola. Now, to hear more about how this conflict is affecting your wallet, we have our reporter, Maddie Pujols. Maddie?
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. So across the country, gas prices are rising. As of today, the national average is sitting at just $4.48 a gallon. That's up 11% from just 2 weeks ago. 60 days ago, before the start of the war, that number was just under $3. You see, that's almost a 50% increase. Since the U.S. and Israel launched military operations against Iran on February 28th, gas prices have surged, causing one of the biggest wartime spikes Americans have seen since the Russian invasion of Ukraine back in 2022. Analysts from JP Morgan are saying that the U.S. has been the second most impacted region, and this comes down to one critical point, and it's the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's closure of the strait has disrupted roughly 20% of the world's oil supply. The International Energy Agency is calling this the largest disruption in the history of global oil markets. In efforts to ease this pressure, we've seen the White House release 17.5 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and a group of OPEC nations have agreed to pump more oil. The administration remains optimistic. President Trump has been saying that prices will fall after the conflict. However, most experts do believe that that will not be the case, arguing that the oil will remain elevated for an extended period, even when this conflict ends.
With the oil markets in turmoil, many Americans are wondering, is Wall Street feeling the same pain at the pump?
Yes, so what's surprising is that Wall Street has shown some resilience, but it's important to note that the market works on the speculation of investors. The S&P 500 has climbed more than 3% since the war began on February 28th, hitting all-time highs along the way. The Nasdaq has surged nearly 8% from its pre-war level. The S&P 500 even touched a new record high today of 7,259 points. Now, this is a number that has left many analysts puzzled because the scale of the energy shock. But the market is not a mirror of performance, but an indicator. So these investors are pricing stocks based on future profit expectations. Wall Street reacts to news headlines even if the economic situation hasn't changed. So for now, the stocks are holding firm, but gas and oil prices continue to climb. The bottom line is uncertainty until supply through the Strait of Hormuz returns to normal, with oil and gas prices are expected to remain extremely volatile, with speculation that gas prices could even reach $5 a gallon by next month.
Thank you, Maddie. If you have a Spirit Airlines ticket, it is now worthless. Spirit has shut down after years of financial losses. The airline says travelers will receive refunds, but it offers no rebooking options, instead directing people to its website for guidance. Other carriers are stepping in, with United booking 14,000 passengers, but for many travelers, the damage is done. The shutdown stunned over 17,000 employees who are now left looking for jobs.
We lost a family, and I think that we're all just kind of feeling numb because we don't feel like this really happened.
We were definitely blindsided.
Betrayed. We're out of jobs, and the airline industry is not what it used to be.
The Supreme Court is temporarily allowing full access to the abortion pill mifepristone. Justice Samuel Alito signed an order temporarily restoring expanded access to the pill without requiring an in-person doctor's visit. It can be prescribed via telemedicine or obtained via mail or a pharmacy. The move blocks a lower court decision that would have limited availability nationwide, giving the High Court time to decide the next steps in the case. Now, in the world of sports, our reporter, Sam Madlangbayan, has the latest on the NBA. Sam?
If you went to bed early last night, you missed one for the ages. The Minnesota Timberwolves escaped the San Antonio Spurs with a 104-102 victory in Game 1. Minnesota guard Anthony Edwards, who sat out the final 2 games of Round 1 with a left knee hyperextension and bone bruise, shockingly returned to play last night. Edwards went 8 for 13 from the field and 2 for 3 from deep. Finishing with 18 points on an eye-popping 69% true shooting, it didn't look like the knee was bothering him one bit. But the real show, and I cannot stress this enough, was put on by Spurs center Victor Wembanyama. Wemby set off a new NBA playoff record with 12 blocks, yes, 12, while also putting up 15 rebounds and 5 assists, a historic jaw-dropping performance, and yet it wasn't enough. Despite Wembanyama's monster night, it was Minnesota who controlled the fourth quarter, outscoring the Spurs 35-30 to steal the win. Julius Randle led the Wolves with 21 points and 10 rebounds, while Jaden McDaniels chipped in 16. The gut punch ending? Spurs forward Julian Champagny launched a three-pointer at the buzzer that just grazed the rim and fell away. 1 inch, and this is a completely different conversation. Minnesota leads the series 1-0, and Game 2 is Wednesday night in San Antonio, and with the Spurs projected as 76.9% favorites to bounce back and even things up. And for the New York fans, the Knicks absolutely crushed the Philadelphia 76ers last night in Game 1 at Madison Square Garden with a final score of 137-98. Jalen Brunson led the Knicks to victory by scoring 35 points in 30 minutes. 4 out of 5 Knicks starters finished in double figures, and New York has won their 3rd straight game by 25 or more points. The Knicks held Philly's Joel Embiid to just 14 points on 27% shooting. Paul George led the Sixers in scoring, finishing with 17 points. The series returns to the Garden tomorrow night for Game 2. That's all I have for you today. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Sam. Last night, Madonna, Bad Bunny, Rihanna, and many more appeared at the Met Gala, one of the world's biggest events in fashion. Its theme, costume art. Our reporter, Neve, has more on the gala. Neve?
Thank you, Ashley. And dare I say, some of the most notable looks of the night came from Emma Chamberlain in Mugler. This year was highly anticipated as Beyoncé joined Nicole Kidman, Venus Williams, and Anna Wintour as the Met Gala's co-chairs. The Met is a fundraiser for the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute. Speaking of Beyoncé, she made an appearance with her daughter, Blue Ivy, and husband, Jay-Z. Her attendance marked the first time in 10 years that she's attended a Met Gala. Fans were on the lookout for any clues hinting towards the final act in her 3-act project, which includes her albums Renaissance and Cowboy Carter. The gala raised a record-breaking $42 million. A new trailer for Christopher Nolan's adaptation of The Odyssey was also released yesterday. The film stars Matt Damon as Odysseus, trying to reunite with his wife Penelope, played by Anne Hathaway. The film also stars Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Zendaya, and Lupita Nyong'o, and Charlize Theron. The film is highly anticipated as it's Nolan's follow-up to his critically acclaimed film Oppenheimer. It is set to be released on July 17, 2026. That's it for the gala. Back to you, Ashley.
Thank you, Neve. Guido Reichsdotter, an activist, scaled the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge on Friday, causing what authorities describe as a barricade situation. We have Kiana Matthews following the story closely. Kiana, what's the latest?
Road closures stretched across South Capitol Street as law enforcement responded. All lanes were initially closed in both directions, according to officials. Police, firefighters, and negotiators have been trying for days to safely bring him down. Reichsdotter, who put up a tent almost 170 feet in the air, says that his protest is against both AI and U.S. military actions. He states that he wants to end the war and stop AI when discussing his purpose.
I mean, it's an atrocity, right? I mean, I woke up on February 28th and I found the school has been blown up. I think that there are many millions of Americans who reject the war in principle, but whose actions have not yet been sufficient to bring it to an end.
According to officials, the situation created major traffic problems, and they are asking drivers to stay away from the area while the delays last. Meanwhile, Reichstarter has said he might come down from his spot on his own beam after being on the bridge for days and running out of supplies.
Thank you, Neve, and that's all we have for you on this week's edition of Eyewitness News. I'm Ashley Choi. Have a great week, Seawolves.